which I'm not saying I shouldn't have been grounded. I
Sure,
absolutely was like being disrespectful, slammed my door at night. My dad came downstairs from the upstairs bedroom, and my God, the fucking pucker I felt hearing those steps come down. Oh my God.
We used to be kids. Now we're not. Something happened in between. This is the Broken Youth Club.
How you feeling?
We'll be honest, I'm pretty tired.
Oh my.
And I'm pretty sore.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Sore from what?
I think just moving on the couch weird, and then sleeping on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
We watched a movie last night, and I just, what do you call that? A crick in your neck, or like a cramp of some kind, and it won't go, and it doubles you over.
Yeah.
And then it's like it happened on both sides of my neck, so I feel like I've got like two befores on the side of my neck that I just can't. I'm tired, man.
Yeah.
And then I'm staring down the barrel of a pretty busy work week. Yeah. Because we're trying to get ahead for, a couple reasons, but it always happens. It's just part of the job. But there's there's times where you have to have heavy recording weeks, and there's times that are more heavy editing weeks. Yeah. And this week's going to be a doozy. Yeah. So just mentally preparing for that. And then, the kids I love my kids, but they've been all over the place the past several days, it seems. And we can't find the off button. Yeah. And
it feels like, Ollie woke up this morning ready to fight with Arlo. Yeah. It was like the first interaction they had was just like a quick mean jab. And so then Arlo retaliates. Right, and then it's like, well, Arlo did. And it's like, you literally started it. Arlo's 4. It's just like, it's never ending. And it feels like, it's just been weird.
That's the thing I'm struggling with currently is the relationship, I think, between Arlo and Oliver. Is I think that's the biggest hurdle, I feel like, that I don't know. I'm trying to actively work on by getting them. I don't know. I'm just always on top of it, I feel like, and it just doesn't seem to work. Yeah. We try different methods of, trying to lay the foundation of you are the older sibling. And it may not seem fair at times, but there's so many times where I say, Oliver, just watch your tone and watch what I get out of this. And then immediately I switch to Arlo and I change my tone. I was like, let's, Yeah. And it's usually, I would say 80% of the time it comes down to Oliver's tone. And
Ollie's got such a sharp tone with us sometimes too, that it's just like, I don't know who you think you're talking to or why you got to talk to me like that.
Room lately. It's just sharp talking back, and it bleeds over into the sibling relationships. Yeah. And it's like, how do we explain that it's a two-way street, but Arlo's still learning to drive, and your role as an older sibling is to help them also learn how. Teach them how to drive, but as the older sibling, you get to do that in a way too. Yeah. It's teaching them how to, how to regulate your emotions a little better than they do. So let's try to pass on some of that. How to do video game exploration and, level completion, all that stuff better than he does. Yeah. Show him the way. There are so many situations where Oliver could make better choices, but chooses not to. On the grounds, it's Arlo just doesn't like me. It's you're not giving Arlo many reasons to, you know? And it's it's a two-way street.
Well, I heard this thing the other day. I can't remember if it was on a podcast or where it was, but it was when you have multiple kids, the oldest, the firstborn, their example of how to act is the parents. Yeah. And so that's typically where like older siblings will be a little bit more responsible, or will have these because like they're looking to the parents on how to behave. Whereas like younger siblings look at that oldest sibling as like how they're supposed to move through the world and how they're supposed to like navigate their emotions or how they're supposed to interact with their parents. And it's like, if that becomes true for Arlo, we are really in for it, because Ollie's got such a sharp little tone with us.
That Oliver would model after us, but I also like see so much of the way Oliver handles things. And it's like, that didn't get it from either one of us. That is just a uniquely Oliver thing, you know?
Unless Ollie is taking those moments where I am just like all the way out of patience. I'm like all touched out. I'm so overstimulated. Like there are those moments where like I get really snappy when I'm just like, God, I've told you so many freaking times today. Like what is going on? Please stop.
Yeah.
And you get snappy too. I mean, like everybody does. That's like a normal human emotion. But I feel like Oliver starts there. It's like Oliver goes from like 0 to that in the first interaction. It's like you can't even be overwhelmed yet. You can't even you can't even be that annoyed with this person. They just woke up. Like, how are you coming at them so just aggressively?
0 to 100 is like a common thing with Oliver.
Yeah. And it sucks too, because I feel like right now Ollie also is doing this thing where Oliver will almost try to like pit Simon against Arlo in order for like Oliver and Simon to be a duo.
Yeah.
And Arlo is left out. And I'm like,
because Oliver knows it's easy to, for lack of better terms, manipulate Simon into like, whether it maybe to Simon it feels like a game, but then I don't know, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. And so then it's like, and I try to immediately be like, hey, we do not exclude each other. That's not okay. We're not going to do that. But it is hard, because then Simon will just be like, no, Arlo, I don't want to play with you. And it's like, dude, you guys love playing together. But you don't want to play with Arlo because Oliver is saying that Oliver doesn't want to play with Arlo. But Oliver wants to play with you. So it's just this like, I don't know. Yeah. It's really hard. But on the topic of parenting and you and I together, somebody posted in the group today, and they posted anonymously, but I thought it was worth talking about. They said, those of you married with younger kiddos, how the F do you manage? I'm at my breaking point. I could go on about everything, but it doesn't even matter. I'm just done and have no one to turn to. And another group member asked what they were having trouble managing. And the person said, having the same conversation over and over and over, not being able to voice things that hurt / upset / frustrate me, because then I'm the one who hurts feelings. Literally living in a cycle of letting the shit build because voicing shit makes my partner feel attacked. Then a fight for 2 days. Then things get better for a day or two. Then in 4 to 5 weeks, we're back to square one. So it's like, I read it as it's specifically with like littler kids, because we don't have any control over the little kids, you know, like they're little and they're figuring it out. And so it's like,
well, certainly. Yeah.
I think it's much more difficult, at least for us. It's been harder to manage having the littles than like if we just had Oliver at this point, because littles make a lot of noise. They're like a lot of,
sure.
And you can't just tell them to go sit down and shut up. Like that doesn't work. And sometimes the way that you handle things versus the way that I handle things does become a situation of like, hey, what are you doing over there? Like, or like a good example, when we come home, because sometimes I like to take you to work and pick you up, even though you have a vehicle, because it's just an hour less that I'm home alone with the kids.
Yeah.
And I like for us to just like get out of the house. I don't want the kids to just be at home all the time. And in the winter, we don't go anywhere because it's freezing, and then any indoor place is germy. But anyway, sometimes when I pick you up from work, you immediately want to tell me things about work, about the day, about what you're working on. You want to show me something that you've done. And the kids have been in the car for a half hour at this point, and typically Oliver is fighting with Arlo. Or Arlo and Simon's iPads are both turned up too loud. So it's just like crazy overstimulating. And you want to talk to me. And for me, I'm like, hey, the kids are like, you can't talk to me yet. But then you get really frustrated. And then you will kind of like use your big dad voice to try to get them to like cut it out. You know, You'll do the old like, hey. And for me, it's like,
I build there. I don't immediately.
Well, no, I understand that. Yeah. But like
they force my hand.
Like, yeah. But for me, it's like,
I'd be like, guys, hey, come on. Hey. And it's like, still just completely tuning me out.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're okay. Level 2 and then level 3. And it's like, I'm going to continue to go until you shut your fucking mouth.
Yeah.
Like that's how, like, shut up.
Yeah. But like for me, I've already been in the car with them for 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how early I needed to leave to come get you because I had to get out of the fucking house. And so I'm already like kind of overstimulated. Yeah. And hearing you add a big noise to it, like I know. Hey, or what?
It's like transference to me.
Dude, it hits so sharp in my fucking skull that then I almost just want to yell at you rather than the kids, because I'm like, hey, the kids are kids and like they're being kids, but like you shut up, you over there, like just be patient. Wait, you can't talk to me yet. Sorry. But I think that like you and I have gone through a lot of stages and seasons where it was like, parenting definitely like affected the marriage, right? Or like my level of what I felt like I had to do with the kids or kid when it was just Ollie versus what you had to do was not balanced. And I think that's something we still kind of struggle with sometimes, because it feels like, you know, we took on these roles really early of I'm going to stay home with the kids. And I stayed home with Oliver for a while. And you go to work, you make the money. That's your job. You financially provide for us. And then I pick up a lot of the other stuff. But sometimes we go through these moments where it's like, I feel like you're so focused on only doing the financial part and like you're at work that then I'm like handling all of this other stuff and it doesn't feel fair anymore. It's like, dude, I would love to go to work and have 8 hours of like, you know, for the most part, getting to like control the volume of my space or like step out and go to the bathroom and not have 2 fucking kids on my heels while I'm in there. Like, or the dog's barking or like, I feel like my day is overstimulated all day, no matter what. There's nothing I can do about it other than to just like try to find ways to fucking cope with it. Mm-hmm. But like when you get to drive yourself to work, you get an hour of drive time where you can have whatever you want. And that feels like a fucking gift that you don't even understand that you have.
Oh, no, I do. Because, I mean, like you said, most times you drive me, especially over the past, like, handful of months. And so when I do get those opportunities, I do use those to try to get my thoughts out that, like, I think it's important to have time to sit and be able to think to yourself. That's why.
No, and I think so too.
When I have the opportunity to get home and like, I'll take the kids so you can go do your bath, or sometimes it's even just getting out of the house and like, you'll go to Target or.
Right. But I think that we had to work to get ourselves to that place.
Absolutely.
I had to work to get myself to a place of like knowing how to communicate that with you, or really even understanding that that's what I fucking needed. Was like, hey, I have just listened to, it feels like 6 soundtracks on full blast all fucking day today. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know that I need to get away from it until I'm out of it. And it took a while for me to get there. And especially when I was like, postpartum with Arlo and then postpartum with Simon, it was kind of hard to know that. And I think especially with Oliver, I genuinely didn't know that. I didn't know what it was like to be, I didn't know how to communicate that with you. But I do know that there have been a fair amount of times where I try to bring up to you, like, hey, I feel like I need more from you on this. Like, I'm carrying a lot of mental load and I'm having a really hard time with it. And I need you to be more thoughtful about that. And for you, there was a lot of like, well, damn, dude, like I feel like I'm trying really hard too. And it almost felt like I was trying to take a dig at you. But it wasn't like that. I wasn't trying to be like, hey, you piece of shit, help me out more. It was like, hey, I'm drowning and I need you to start taking like an active role and noticing when I'm drowning and help me not get to that place.
Yeah.
Or help take things off without me having to ask you, because sometimes even forming the words to say I am overstimulated, or you ask me what's for dinner or what I want for dinner, and I'm like, I would rather not eat than have to come up with a single thing in my brain to cook, whether we have the stuff or not. I don't even mind cooking the food, but the putting the thought together of like, oh fuck, is it my job to like always know what's for dinner or always pick what's for dinner? Because I don't have that ability right now. And I think that like when I read a post like the one in the group today, it was like, it is really hard. And if I'm assuming that your partner is a good person and they are kind and they love you and they're just struggling to figure it out, it's like, in the same way that I gave you that benefit of the doubt, it's like, hey, I'm trying to communicate that I need something from you. And it feels like you're having a hard time hearing me and then putting it into practice. Or like you'll do it for a week or two and then you get so wrapped up in your stuff that you're kind of back in your old habits. And then here I am feeling re-frustrated. Like, were you not listening? Did you not care?
For the longest time, my brain was, focused on growing our business and making sure there was like, the biggest and longest future for our family possible. And I will say, I think I got quote unquote lost in that for a while, where it was like, you wake up and you grind because one day these kids are going to be older and then we'll have money and we'll have a future. It's like, it's always this thing that I was working for. And I think being the eye off the ball type of mentality of like, I wasn't as attentive to my wife and your needs. And it's like being a dad. Like those first few years, I wasn't living up to what I wanted to be. And I think it takes an honest assessment of like, yourself and like you said, communication I think is like the biggest thing in our relationship and will continue to be, because I think we mentioned it like set way in the beginning about how when I was younger, just due to the nature of hopping between my dad's and my mom's and having two different like kind of moral standards for each house, you just you kind of stay in your own lane and you try not to upset the apple cart. And but what comes with that is like a lack of ability to express yourself. So by staying in your lane, you just kind of stay silent and you never learn to communicate even the most basic feelings. It sounds easy. Hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed, not that I think in starting to be explicit and vocal about this, and this, it puts you in a state of mind to then you're just naturally, I guess, a little more aware. And I don't want to say this as somewhat like I'm a doofus and I know I fuck it up all the time with you. Even still, I think you just know that I'm always continuing to try. And so, I think as long as you take the first step to personally admit, like, yeah, I could probably actually, because I would get defensive, like you said, very early on. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, this is all for you. What do you mean I'm not paying attention to you? This is all for you.
Yeah.
And I would get angry. Yeah, because I mean, you ask any person who is, whether self-elected or just by happenstance, is the quote-unquote breadwinner, or like the weight of the person turning the wheel of the machine, like that weight, anytime that like you get too close to it feels personal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, I'm like, it feels like, what's that, Atlas Shrugged? Like carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. And anyway, yeah, I think it's, for me, it was important to truly admit that, hey, you're not as awesome as you think you are. And like, yeah, you're a go-getter, but you're also a dad. You're also a husband. And like, which of these is most important? And yeah, I'm still like, quote unquote, go-getting, but the clock is ticking, and I don't unhear that as I get older. And yeah, I just, I still want safety and security. I'd love to have millions of dollars, so I'd never have to think about making money again. I could just do creative things. I would love to live in a world where I didn't have to focus on turning the engine. I wish I just put the gas in and it'd run,
Yeah.
But anyway, off my point. And then, excuse me. Yeah. Once you just start down that path of like starting to communicate, then you see these little glimmers of like, oh, that actually worked. That was way easier. I just told you how I felt. You received that in a positive manner. We went about our day, and that was way different than it has been, the 100 other times. And then you do it again, and then a year later, then you're finding out you're doing it more and more, but it's like a little more natural. And yeah, again, we're not even near perfect no relationship is perfect, but I don't know. It's like dance partners. Just over the years, you learn each other's moves a little bit more, and you learn to just go like dance with each other better. And as long as you each are working on your moves, not, one person's not doing all the spins and the twirls and the other just,
yeah,
then it's a good duo. But if you do have one partner who just refuses to fucking put in any of the work to learn the moves and the choreography, and then I forget, I'm sorry, I think we've gotten a little far off. What was the original, like?
The original was married people with little kids. How do you manage?
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately we manage, because at the starting line, we know that neither one of us are like pieces of shit. Neither one of us are trying to take advantage of the other.
Oh no, I think at this point, I mean, at any point in our relationship, but especially now, I feel like you and I truly feel like if we should make sweaters because we'd make a good team. What is it? Jerseys. Sorry, not sweaters.
We should get jerseys.
We should just get jerseys because we make a good team.
K.
Yeah, I truly do feel like we are the like team members, like a duo.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it without you. And I think that's important to feel that like you have someone you can unequivocally trust with everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do, even with where we are right now, which is definitely in one of the better seasons of our marriage as far as communicating and feeling like ultimately we're on the same team, even if we're not always on the same page. But like, I just, I've lost my train of thought. Hang on a second.
I'll let you find it. It's okay.
It'll come back to me. There are still times where you and I will have like hey, you're not doing this thing that you said you were going to do. Or like, we talked about doing better in this. And like, there are still moments where you and I will get into arguments that last longer than the night. I mean, this person, I don't know if it's a guy or girl, but they mentioned that they'll fight. It'll be awkward for a day or two. Then it'll kind of get back to normal. And then in 4 to 5 weeks, the cycle starts all over again. And we definitely do that. We definitely do have moments where it's like what I'm communicating to you, you just flat don't agree with. And then you struggle with how to respond to that because you ultimately want to make me feel like you're hearing me and willing to change up what you're doing or be more thoughtful.
But there are genuine times where it's like,
I don't agree.
I genuinely wholeheartedly think I'm like, this is the way I think on this.
Yeah. And so sometimes we do have these, I can't really remember the last time it's lasted longer than like a 24 to 36 hour period. But like, I think ultimately at the end of it, it's just like, hey, but ultimately we're like on the same team, right? Like you want what's best for me. I want what's best for you. And so like something's got to give. And if you don't necessarily agree with it, but it's not a huge burden to you, then like fucking help me out. Like whether you think you should take on this task or whether you think you should talk to the kids this way versus that way. It's like ultimately we're on a team and we have to figure out what's going to work for both of us. And and sometimes it just requires some fucking give, whether the person agrees with you or not. But it's also just like constant work because I tell you, when Logan gets that fucking high pitched hey going in that car, sometimes I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It never works.
High pitched hay or high volume hay?
Both.
Hey,
dude.
That's not.
Dude, don't play.
I'm not gonna do it on mic, but yeah.
Oh, it just immediately gets me.
Voice. Bye. It's like a bark.
Yeah, really. But yeah, it is hard whenever, Logan and I obviously have talked about it a handful of times, but like when Logan was not in a good season, when Logan was drinking more and we were having like issues in that was definitely a really hard time to figure out how to communicate the stuff I needed because it felt like you weren't in a good place to hear it, or you were dealing with like your own demons at that point, and it felt like anything outside of your work stuff had to go towards like how to just get you in a better place. And that was hard. And obviously like that did cause us to separate for a little bit. But I think that at the end of the day, it's like whatever you're going through with your partner and needing to communicate about with them, it's like you have to make sure that you guys are on the same team and that you want to be on the team. Because ultimately, if you're not, or if somebody's struggling and they need help outside of the kids are fucking there, and they're nonstop all the time. And littles are hard, like, because they just don't have the skills to like read the room and the body control to like, oh God, something's going on. We should like be quiet for a minute, or like,
sure, yeah.
My parents are overwhelmed. But like, the amount of times that you and I have tried to have serious conversations or even just like normal conversations and the kids are like right there. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. I mean, it is super difficult.
Kids, but yeah,
it's super, super hard. At least Oliver is to the age now where it's like, if I tell Oliver like, hey, I got to talk to your dad, like go in your room, don't come out.
Yeah.
Oliver will do that.
Yeah.
We cannot tell Arlo that.
Not at all.
We can be having a very like serious conversation where one or both of us is crying and Arlo will be there no matter what.
Right in your face.
No
like
matter
tapping
what.
you on the shoulder, trying to show you something on the iPad.
Yeah. And then whenever you are like, Arlo, can you hear that then for me, I'm like, he doesn't know what to do.
I know, but if I don't ever say it, then he'll never. It's like, where do you start? You know?
Yeah. And sometimes I do struggle with like, it's something I need to work on big time, but I always want to like come to the kids' defense.
Yeah. Anytime
well, God.
No, I know what
quick.
I knew that was where you were going.
And it definitely like hinders your ability to parent.
Yeah.
And I know that that's like not fair because
it's not often, but there have been a few times where it's like, okay, like I'm making the decision to either enforce a punishment or, yeah, quote unquote, lay down the law of some kind. And I do it. And then then it somehow either gets overridden or reversed of some kind, or
Sometimes I don't know about it.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
And then they come in and ask me and I'll say yes without checking. And then it's like, oh, fuck, if your dad said no, then actually, no, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. But I do struggle with like wanting, and I think it goes back to that, like trying to keep the peace. And it's like, hey, don't yell at them. Yeah. Like they're sorry. They don't know better. Like, you know better. Give them some slack. But also, if we give them too much slack, then they're just going to be like tiny little...
Yeah, I don't want to raise
that yell at us all the time.
Yeah, I'm just like, all right, here you go. Here's money. Love you too. You know, like it's a very delicate dance to be both a disciplinarian, proper disciplinarian, not an abusive, force, but also like not friend, but a warm, comforting environment. How do you be both warm and comforting and disciplinarian at the same time? Yeah. It is a delicate balance.
Yeah, because my biggest thing was I didn't want my kids to be afraid of me.
Right.
Ever. But sometimes I look at them and I'm like, I wish you were a little more afraid of me. Yeah. Because sometimes it feels like you just flat don't care.
Oh, yeah.
Like it just.
No, I've started, I think, especially with Oliver lately, I don't know if you've noticed, I've been using my eyes and then eyes plus time, like letting my pauses linger and slowing my words down. Like when Oliver says something, I will, slow head turn, use my eyes, and I'll say, is that really something you wanted to have said to me? Like stretch it out.
Yeah.
Put a point on it.
Yeah.
And then just hold it and let Ollie know, like, this is a serious, like, look me in the face.
Yeah.
And do that again,
Yeah.
But we don't.
It's hard.
We don't spank, we don't whip, we don't do any of those types of punishments.
Yeah.
I think we've said that before.
Yeah. And like, honestly, we're just not great at like following through with a punishment the way that we lay it down. So like,
hard. Yeah.
So like whenever Ollie does something wrong and, or if Ollie is like super fucking disrespectful and it's a thing of like, okay, cool. If you think you're going to talk to me that way, then you can just go into your room and you can give me all of your stuff and don't come out until you're ready. Like we try to like let the kids choose these time frames, but then Ollie will come out and immediately...
We do have I've been doing the 5 minutes on the yellow couch.
Yeah.
Upgraded to the 10 minutes.
Yeah, we do absolutely have timeouts when they're just like the worst. Right. But like Oliver recently, Oliver has a MetaQuest. We got it's not the brand new one.
It's an older generation.
Yeah, it's the last generation. Those new ones, $500 for a fucking headset. My kid, no. No. They'll break it. But anyway, and Ollie was like, we have these rules of like, you can't, we really don't even like for Ollie to play online with other people at all in the way of like, you can communicate with them.
It's literally one thing. It's the headset.
Yeah. And we found out that Ollie was doing that. And so it was like, okay, well, we're going to start putting some like time frames on you playing this game. So you can play it for 1 hour a day. You need to tell me when you turn it on and I'll start a timer and then I'll let you know when your time's up. And that was fine for the week. And we didn't put like an end date, right? It's basically just like until we feel like you're ready to like understand that you can't talk to people online because people are liars and scary. But then like the weekend came and Ollie has a couple of kids that they really like playing with. And it's hard, I guess. Sometimes Ollie has a hard time finding the right time during the week to play because one of these kids lives in Michigan. And then we're like, okay, but does this kid know where you live? And Ollie's like, no. I'm like, I
don't believe that.
I bet that they do, which I don't fucking like that because we don't know if that's a kid or not. But anyway, so then Ollie wanted to play this weekend, but then was like trying to wait for this kid to get on. And then the next thing you know, Ollie has been playing this thing on and off for like hours.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that struggles because it's too fucking cold and shitty outside right now for Oliver to go play outside with the neighbors. Oliver doesn't have a lot of friends that we would invite to the house.
Yeah.
Really right now there's only one friend that we would invite to the house, and they were out of town this weekend. I actually tried. And so it's like, there's this part of me that wants Oliver to feel like they can spend time with friends
and have a place.
And that's really hard to not have. Mm-hmm. But then the other part of me is like, we haven't even been on this punishment for a week. Yeah. And already this weekend we've crumbled. Mm-hmm. And we've let Ollie be on the Oculus or on the MetaQuest more than they should have. Mm-hmm. But then in my head, it was like, well, maybe it should just be an hour during the week and not on the weekend but I don't know how to shut that off, because it's like, well, ultimately I'm making it out like I'm not following through with punishments that I give you. So then what's the point?
Right.
Like you're not only not afraid of me physically, but you're also not even afraid of the things that I take from you because you think realistically you could just like guilt me into giving it back.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that too. Like I see it. And that, I will say, is probably one of the things that I, as dad and husband, do struggle with is because, like when I'm away at work, something will happen. And then when I get back, it's like I almost have to be filled in on, like, okay, so Ollie's back playing this again, but like Ollie won't say that. So it's like, when you're not fully in the loop about, and Ollie will push boundaries all the time. I mean, on that, we had to have, the whole internet safe. And I know Ollie is safer than I was at that time for sure.
Yeah.
And had a good answer for every question we asked, but still, like, something was happening with the headset. Couldn't hear Ollie or something. So this kid was like, well, we could just chat on Discord.
Yeah.
So Ollie downloaded Discord, and I walked in to knocked on the door. I usually knock, wait a couple seconds and open, just to build that trust over time. Especially now that Ollie's hit 10. Mm-hmm. And I did that, open the door, and Ollie does, it's always like the dumbest, like 2 controllers in hand with the Quest thing on head, looking straight away from me. And then when the door opens, it's like this, look to the door, but slightly up.
Yeah. So I can see just a little bit.
Anyway, so I open the door, Ollie looks at me, and then I look down at Ollie's chair, and Ollie had an iPad that had some kid on it, just a video call of some kind.
Yeah.
I think through Discord you can video call.
Yeah.
But it was on Ollie's chair facing up towards the ceiling. And I was sitting there like just looking at it for a second. I was like, is that Ollie's on the headset? Is that just like a random video that Ollie left out? And then so I was like, all right, I gotta go. Then went over and then hit end. And then I saw like the Discord window. Mm-hmm. I was like, wait a sec, hold on.
Yeah.
So I was like, grab your iPad, then come here. And then we went and talked to you. And I was like, because it was one of those instances where it's like, I didn't know, did you give Ollie permission to download Discord, A, and B, did you give Ollie permission to like FaceTime people?
Yeah, FaceTime strangers on the internet?
No.
No.
They don't know where I live. And it's like, I didn't have my camera on. And it's like all these things. It's like, okay.
Well, then it was, I did have my camera on, but I had it pointing to the ceiling the whole time. And it's like, okay, yeah, thank you. Great. Love that.
That just tells me you don't, like, you're not.
But like Discord is social media and you're not allowed to have social media. Did you have to create a profile? Yeah. Well, what birthday did you use?
Right.
I used a random birthday that was like 1 year older than yours. And I was like,
you lied?
So you had to lie to make it so that you were older. That's not allowed.
Yeah. All it was, you could see on their face that you knew that you shouldn't have done this.
And it's so hard because I do genuinely believe, Oliver, that it wasn't.
I made a point after all of that, because what I did was I was like, okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to ask you some questions and you're going to look me in my face and you're going to be honest. And I think the first question was like, did you download this today or before? And Ollie said today. I said, so if I check that, it's not going to be downloaded before. No. Did you send any messages to anybody or video call anybody but the person that I saw? No. I was like, okay, I trust you. And then before, I wasn't going to look. I was just, what I did is like, okay, what can you can you talk to this person in your normal game area? Or is like, if you delete Discord now, you've lost contact. And he's like, no, I can get them back on, where we normally play. It's like, okay, send them a message now and say, hey, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to download this. Not feeling the app. I'm going to delete it. Let's go back to the whatever.
Yeah.
So you can still have your friend.
Yeah.
Because it was a kid, and we're trying to monitor that. I'm asking, they don't use real names. They go by their whatever. And I've listened to, what are they talking about? All they leaves their door open. We're doing our best to be safe. And I trusted Ollie, and Ollie went and was like, see, look. And I was like, I don't need you to show me. I'm going to trust you on this one. And then afterwards, I went into Ollie's room. I was like, hey, I fully need you to understand that I trust that you weren't trying to be sneaky or anything. I need you to know that I don't think you were trying to be any sort of way.
That's the hard part about it with us right now with Ollie. It's like, I absolutely know in my heart that Oliver would not knowingly speak to another adult online. Yeah. Wouldn't give away personal information, wouldn't tell somebody our address, wouldn't give a phone number.
But Ollie's 10 and Ollie could be tricked.
Things. But yeah, that's what I was trying to tell Oliver. Yeah. Sometimes bad people on the internet will use kids to get other kids' information. Mm-hmm. You just don't know. But I also do know, because of this podcast and because of the community of people involved with all of the Bad Magic shows, there are incredibly kind, good people on the internet too. And I don't want to keep Oliver from making friends online, especially when Oliver has a hard time finding solid friends now. I think it's getting better. I do think I talked to a counselor at Ollie's school last week and checked in with a teacher, and Oliver is liked at school. Mm-hmm. But Oliver is still the new kid. Ollie started at that school in October from being homeschooled at the beginning of the year. And so it's Ollie is still the new kid in a 5th grade room where it's just a K through 5 school. I'm sure I can remember back to being in the 5th grade. And again, I went to the same elementary school the whole time. If a kid came in late, I could imagine that it would take a little time for other kids that have been in school together always to really latch onto that kid.
I went to the same elementary school all the way, and I remember some new kids coming in and whatnot. And I remember there was always, for me anyway, there was always this kind of excitement about, did you hear about the new kid? Whatever.
I know.
And then I feel like, I don't know, pretty quickly, I feel like they found a play. I could be wrong, totally way off base.
But Oliver is. But Oliver is also.
I remember having a couple quote unquote new kids come in, and they pretty quickly assimilated into our lunch group or playground, whatever.
Yeah.
But that could be.
But Oliver is also younger than everyone, and Oliver, I feel has this complex where they need to make other kids think that they belong in the grade that they're in, so they try to be extra smart sometimes, a little bit of a know-it-all. And I can see where that could rub kids the wrong way, or it could just take a little bit more time to warm up to someone with Ollie's personality in that way. But I do think that Ollie is starting to get it at school. That's what I think until Oliver has a core friend group here in Spokane, I feel bad taking away friendships that Ollie is building online. But it's trying to figure out how the fuck to make sure that that's a safe situation and Ollie's not making themselves vulnerable to the wrong kind of people. But ultimately, also just going all the way back to I really struggle with enforcing punishments because my parents were always a punishment is how long it is, no matter what. And I remember getting grounded, I think literally because I slammed my door, which I'm not saying I shouldn't have been grounded. I absolutely was being disrespectful, slammed my door. At night, my dad came downstairs from the upstairs bedroom, and my God, the fucking pucker I felt hearing those steps come down. Oh my God. But I remember I had this little group of friends, and it was one of their birthdays. I was grounded for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. You aren't doing shit for 2 weeks. Don't ask. You're not watching TV. You're not going anywhere. You're going to school. You're coming home. Mm-hmm. That's it, no matter what. And it was literally like I was going to be ungrounded on a Sunday. That Saturday was this girl's birthday sleepover. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, dude, I'm so close. I'm so close. And it was a no.
Nope.
Like, no, you fucking blew it because you slammed the door. You were disrespectful. It doesn't matter that you were on good behavior these 2 weeks. Doesn't matter that a birthday is a once a year fucking situation. It doesn't matter that all of your other friends are going to be there. You can't go.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know that I believe in that. Like that is hard for me. And I try really hard to have like that whole thought process of like, how do you make the punishment fit the crime? Because when it comes to being disrespectful, I don't know what the proper punishment is. Because some people could argue that like, okay, well, if Ollie's being disrespectful and then you take away the Oculus or the MetaQuest, you're taking away an outlet for them. And clearly they need to have an outlet because they're being disrespectful because they need to have some way to get that out.
Adding fuel to a fire, maybe.
Yeah. And so it's like, well, they're going to be worse because you're taking away the thing they like. And it's like, okay, but then what do I do? Because we aren't people that are like, hey, say that again and I'm going to fucking backhand you in the mouth.
Right.
Like, so what do you suppose, what is the punishment for that? Mm-hmm. Because like, when Ollie gets in trouble at school, really Oliver's school suggested anytime that Oliver got in trouble at school and had a punishment at school, like lost a recess or whatever, they were always like, basically, Ollie already got in trouble for this. So like, we're telling you so that you can talk to Ollie about it, but we don't necessarily, like, we aren't encouraging a double punishment.
Right.
And so we typically don't unless it's like a real big, what the fuck are you doing at school?
Right.
But yeah, other times it's like, I don't know. I feel like really ill-equipped sometimes with like what the right thing to do is with little kids. But I know I know sometimes the things that you suggest, I immediately don't like. But then I have a hard time with that too, because it's like, well, if that's how you want to handle it. You're
like
just.
What? Do you have anything off your head?
I think that like, I think the Oculus thing is like the MetaQuest time limit was like an idea that you had.
The hour?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or like feeling really like, hey, are we sticking to that? Or like.
Oh, you don't agree that like it should only be an hour a day?
I struggle with like, is that the right punishment? Like,
well, I think since we're talking about it, my logic there is, let's not strip Oliver of the outlet of friendship, but let's, bottleneck it so that Oliver recognizes, like, I feel like when we would take away certain things, it's like, okay, no TV, Oliver literally is like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
No effect. All right. No, nothing before the VR.
Yeah.
I'm taking away everything. Your iPod Touch or whatever you have, your little PS, everything in your room. I don't care. Like, it's just and so I feel like with Oliver specifically, you have to catch Ollie in things that they're really into at that time. So it's like, okay, no MHA for a week, or whatever it is. Like, that would be, dang,
I have one. Sometimes when Ollie does something wrong or is like really acting some type of way, for me, I look at it and I'm like, dude, I think the best way to punish this behavior is to literally not give Oliver any attention at all.
Oh, right.
Because Ollie's trying to get attention.
Just ignore it.
So like, we need to literally walk out. And you're like, well, I'm going to have a conversation.
I need to have a lesson. This is a lesson.
Yeah.
Moment.
But for me, I'm like, Ollie's not listening to you, but they are receiving attention from you. And that's like not what they need. Or like when you suggested, we talked about having Oliver start a journal and write in the journal every night. And I'm like super into that. But before we got into that point, you were like, well, I used to have to like fill pages whenever I would like mouth off. I would just have to like write and fill pages of like, what? Yeah. I won't do that fucking thing again, whatever. Mm-hmm. And that it felt like a physical punishment, because I know when I have to sit down, like when I would have to sit down and write stuff out, like homework, and it was like, they give you like fucking 25 words to define. You have to write all the definitions. It's like your hand hurts. Oh. So for me, it's like, for me, it feels like a physical.
I told Ollie when we started that, I'm asking for at least a half a page.
Well, no, but I'm not talking about the journal. I think the journal is a good idea.
Oh.
But when you were like, before we had gotten to the idea of the journal, and you were like, well, we could just make Oliver like write. You know, I used to have to like write and fill notebooks. Yeah. If like your example,
I think the idea.
I think I go like, to like the extreme. Like you had to literally like fill notebooks before you could leave your room.
Yeah, I remember one time. I don't know if I've said this on the show or not, but we had this little kiosk right by the principal's office. It was like a 4x4 metal roll-up window, and it was like a little closet where someone would come in, and it's just basically school supplies. And I forget what we called it, like the supply store or something. And I would go, and I knew this little trick where it's like, okay, if I could pay for the thing on the back wall, they have to turn around and grab it. And so if I pay for it, they'll turn around, grab it for me. I can snake a couple of those like little like triangular shaped like pencil eraser toppers.
Yeah.
And, you know, like a couple little things that they had like on whatever. I wouldn't take too many, usually just a few. Yeah, absolutely. I was a little thief when I was little because I wanted my own things, you know?
Yeah.
Stupid. But I got caught once stealing some eraser caps. And my punishment for that was to fill an entire, I think they're, 80-page lined.
Wide ruled.
I had to use college ruled, the thinner lines. And I had to fill that entire book with, the line was, I will not lie, cheat, or steal. Over, and it was a Bart Simpson move. I'm sure they got it from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And I feel that to my recollection, I want to find that book.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was either purple or green. But I remember I had to do that, and then I had to move on to Mathathon. Do you remember? Did you ever do Mathathon?
Mm-mm.
Really? Mm-mm. Oh, so fun! It was like, I think that's what it was called. Anybody out there knows what I'm talking about, help me out. But basically you get it's almost like highlights, or no, not highlights, the Scholastic Book Fair type paper, where you get a bunch of this stuff and you basically do math problems, and for everyone right, I think you got like points or something, and you could win, like if I get 2,500 points I can get a video game, you know. You never did that?
Never.
Oh man. So anyway, I had to like bounce from that to then doing my mathathon. There was a period though, for a while, it was like, I had to lock myself in my room and do monotonous shit so that it got my brain into thinking this sucks. So, I mean, I'm sure the idea is, that sucks. Don't do it again. You'll think about this next time, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I fucking was stealing until I was like early teens.
Yeah.
I was a little bad boy for sure.
Yeah, boy.
I would go do the classic, go into Walmart, put something in like a DVD, and then you'd go into the bathroom and then you'd leave the case behind. I feel so bad about that even though, you know, it's the Waltons, but still, like morally,
fuck those guys.
Morally, I still feel like, I mean, I probably honestly over the years, maybe like 15, 20 DVDs, you know? But I think once I hit like late middle school, I definitely was like, I feel actually really bad doing this, and I never will do it again.
I have only ever stolen intentionally one thing, and it was a ring at Target, and I only took it because I saw it and I liked it, and I have like, I don't know, all my friends in school always had these like dainty little hands, and my ring size is like a 7 for like this finger, but then like 8 or 9 on the others, you know, like I just got like big knuckles, whatever. And And they had a ring that was in my size that was super duper cute. It was the only one left and there was no tag on it. And I thought, if I take this up there, it's going to take them fucking forever. It's so embarrassing. It's the only thing I like was going to get.
Yeah.
So I just like slid it on my finger. And dude, when I tell you, I was so sweaty walking out of that store because I'm like, they either watched me put it on my finger or there's some fucking like Scan like King embedded in the fucking for this ring that probably cost $12. Yeah. But I just, dude, I'm not built for it. No, like my parents, for a long time, I told them they did such a good job of like instilling this fear in me that if anyone's going to get caught, it's going to be me. And the consequence will be severe.
Yeah.
Both from the store and from my fucking parents. And for a long time, I thought that was a good thing. And now I'm like, well, damn, dude, I feel like I'm just like real afraid to do a lot of shit now. So maybe.
I'll say the other day, though, maybe like not. We ran into a situation where it's like, you know what? I think the best outcome here would have been if someone would have just taken this. And it was when we were at Cracker Barrel. Do you remember that?
Dude, yes.
Well, I'll let you say it.
Yeah. We went to, you're talking about the...
I think for Arlo or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm having like a minor fart on
it was
what
like a little toy of some kind, I thought.
Yeah. What the fuck was it?
And it didn't have a tag.
Oh, it was a little knife. It was one of those little like play knives where you push it in and it looks like it goes in, like whatever.
A $3 toy.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. And Arlo found it in the candy area when we were checking out. Because every time we go to Cracker Barrel, I'm always like, okay, everybody can pick one candy. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's like a little bag of candy or if it's a single thing. You can pick one thing from this candy area. That's it. Well, Arlo found this like play knife thing and he thought it was so funny.
So cool.
The whole time we were standing in line, he would like fake stab me and I would stumble back, or he'd fake stab himself and fall to the ground. Like,
prop
dude,
play. Yeah.
He thought it was the coolest thing. I get up front and all I had like looked in the toy area because this thing didn't have a tag on it, and all I didn't see any more of them.
I'm wondering if it.
And so I started to wonder if it was just somebody's kid's toy that they had just like forgotten when they were looking at the candy, whatever.
Probably.
And like, mind you, the line was fucking long. Like it was a busy day for the old Cracker Barrel. Yeah. And so I'm waiting forever because there's one cashier. We finally get up there. She checks out all of our stuff. Then she looks at this knife. She notices there's not a tag on it. She's like, okay, hang on a second. And I feel so bad because there's like literally 10 people in line behind me. Like I wanted to just
That's the worst, dude. I'd hate you. If I was like back there 8, 9, or 10, I'd be like, jeez, just take it.
But she also didn't even give me the option to say like, won't.
No. She
immediately like walks over to the toy stuff, takes way too long looking for this knife. Way too long.
So uncomfortable.
Then comes back, then starts looking through the computer, then pulls out a binder, then starts looking through the fucking binder.
Maggie, get over here. I need your help.
Oh my God. By this time, they, thank God, had called another person up to the register to help check people out. But then this girl, the people that had been directly behind me, wanted 2 t-shirts and like only one of the sizes was out. So then she was trying to figure out if they had any more. Everybody in line hated both of us. Okay. But then this lady finally at the end of all of it, I'm not kidding you, I stood in front of her specifically at least 8 minutes. I mean, it was just like painfully long. And I kept saying like, it's fine. And she was like, no, I'm going to try to find it. And I'm like, fuck. Then she finally is like, I just cannot find, the SKU for this. And I can't sell it to you if I don't have a SKU for it. And for me, it's like, bitch, just type in like fucking, I'll pay you $10 for it. Like, just type something in and give it to me. Yeah. But instead, she basically was like, I can't, I won't sell it to you.
I'll just put this back here.
Yeah. And Arlo's like, Mom, where's my...
Yeah, dude, it was the worst. Like,
dude, painful. So yeah, I should have just let Arlo put it in his fucking pocket.
No, yeah, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, that was awful. But that's what I imagined would happen with the damn Target ring too. So I just scooted on out of there.
What a thief.
I know. I knew a lot of people though that stole from the little supply store at the middle school at OV. Mm-hmm. And I always thought those people were like real ballsy because I felt like almost every time I would go in there, somebody was actually getting caught stealing things. Yeah. So
I'll say again, in middle school, about that same age, I would at lunchtime, like I did not want to pay for that extra sandwich. So I would like reach up, and then with my left hand, I'd put the other one like in my bag.
Hysterical.
Yeah, no, I was a little asshole when it came to that shit, for sure.
I only ever ate I would eat the pizza days in middle school, and then outside of that, dude, it was I like the white cheddar sandwich. Smart Pop popcorn. That was it.
I like the chicken sandwiches, I think.
Yeah.
And the pizza days, probably the most.
Yeah. I just heard the kids scream, which means that they've awakened from the midday nap.
Yeah.
And I was about ready to cut it because I need to pee so badly.
Okay. Well, let's get out of here.
So we're gonna have to wrap it up.
Yeah, we got a good time. Oh, that was a full out scream. Yeah,
we're screaming. So okay, great. If you are not in the Facebook group, it's just Broken Youth Club on Facebook. If you have a story you want to submit, it's mylife@brokennewthclub.com. If you would like to call in, there's the hotline at the end that you can call the number. We love you all so much. We're so thankful that you're here.
Check out the Patreon if you haven't.
Check out the Patreon. Yeah. It's $5 flat, and you get the bonus episode. And we're going to be more intentional with putting bonus content in there.
Speaking of bonus content, I'm looking at it right now. We do have that little Arlo thing.
Oh my God, Logan did the cutest little interview with Arlo. So sweet. It's like 8 minutes long, but it is so freaking cute. That'll be on the Patreon. So yes, so if you would like to do that, head on over there. Just $5 a month. And yeah,
that's good.
Fantastic.
Let's go get the kids.
Cool, great. Love you. Bye.
Bye.